Good evening. Oh, hello. I call this meeting of the Duncanville Independent School District to order. Let the record show that a quorum of Board of Trustees is present and that the meeting has been duly called, and that notice of this meeting had been posted in accordance with Texas Open Meetings Act, Texas Government Code, Chapter 551. Excuse us, we'll now move into closed session.
We're ready.
Good evening. Oh, so cute. I call this meeting of the Duncanville Independent School District to order. Let the record show that a quorum of board members is present, that this meeting has been duly called, and that notice of this meeting has been posted in accordance with Texas Open Meetings Act, Texas Government Code, Chapter 551. We will begin our opening ceremonies with an invocation by Board Member Ms. Cassandra Phillips.
Please stand. So great to see you all. Okay, let us pray. Lord, we thank you for allowing us all another day to serve our students in our community. Lord, we pray that our work is pleasing to you. We ask that you guide our thoughts, open our minds, and touch our hearts. Lord, we ask that you keep our students, their families, and our entire district covered with your blood, keeping everyone protected from any hurt, harm, and danger as they come and go daily. Lord, we thank you for all the programs that support our students, the success of our students. Lord, we're asking for a speedy recovery for our fellow board member, Phil McNeely, and for strength and comfort for him and Renee. Lord, we also pray for those who have lost loved ones, those dealing with sickness, and those having a difficult time. For the love of all of our students and their families, we pray for them, and we pray this in your name. In Jesus' name, amen.
Thank you, Ms. Phillips. Now we're proud to have the students from Bill Hart's Elementary lead our pledges tonight. There they are.
Go ahead.
Good evening. We're ready when you are. Oh, good. We want to
Good
shake
evening,
your
Madam
hands.
President, Dr. Smith, and board members. Tonight, I have with me the kindness crew from Bill Hart's Elementary School. Gabriella Aguirre, Josh Lara, Amariani Lopez, Carol Torres, Grady's Alman, Kaylee Anderson, Sophia Mireles, Juan Robles. Thank you for having us tonight, and I'm the principal, Valerie Harris. Thank you.
Thank you, students. We appreciate you leading us in our pledges, and we hope you're going to have a great school year. We now move into the superintendent's report, and I'll turn it over to Dr. Smith.
All right, thank you, Madam President, and other board members and guests and staff. I have just a few items to report on tonight in the superintendent's report. The first item that I'd like to report on is the Texas Network for School Improvement. What that is, board, it's a collaboration between the Educate Texas, Leaning Forward, and the University of Texas at Austin, the Charles Dana Center. The goal of this organization is to improve 8th grade math scores for Latino and African American students, as well as low-income students. And so this is funded by the Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation. And so here in Duncanville ISD, we're going to be the beneficiary and recipients of this opportunity. As a result, our teachers will receive lots of training, math training to help enhance their skills in math. And we also will be able to get a lot of resources that are going to be available for our teachers as well as for our students to help with our math initiatives. We had our math coordinator, Devin Haynes, and Amy Anderson, who was here at central office prior to going to Duncanville High School as an assistant principal. They really were the initiators of and did a lot of the legwork to help this opportunity become available for us. And so they are going to be key contributors into executing the plan as we move forward. But it's simply going to be a great opportunity to increase the discussion of math, the practice of math, the collaboration of math, and just our students becoming more proficient in the area of math. So really excited about the grant opportunity and what it's going to do for our students and for our district. Also, we have continued to work on the safety and enhancing opportunities for our school district. Last week, we had an active shooter tabletop exercise. It was a great opportunity for the district to partner with several first responders in multiple cities and areas within the DFW area. We had about 50 people to attend last week. It was facilitated by the Regional Emergency Management Operations Coordinator. And so the whole purpose was to have a discussion with all of the first responders. Our staff was there so that we could all get on the same page as it relates to how we would respond if there was a active shooter type scenario. And so these are things that you have to do during today's times to make sure that you're proactive and that there's some coordination with all the first responders so that we can respond properly. And so we were proud to host that and to have everyone represented here at Duncanville ISD. And so part of the discussion really was to clarify roles and responsibilities between the city and the school district. And we worked through several, identifying our strengths and weaknesses, improving the coordination and communication. That's really the big piece. Evaluating where we are from a communication standpoint. We identified resources that were in place, but also resources that we need to have in place. And then just assessing the capability of us to respond and making decisions. And so those were the kind of discussions that were going on, and this was a first step to bring all of the experts at the table to help us in this effort. And so, you know, we're just very proud that we could host it, and we had such a great turnout, and it's going to help us as we move forward with that training. The next item that I had to report on is the Hispanic Heritage Month. The dates are from September 15th to October 15th, and so that launches, we are actually launching Hispanic Heritage Month, and there are so many activities that will be going on all across the district, many of which have already really started. We had Hardin at Hardin Intermediate and Alexander Elementary. They started their celebrations on today. And throughout the month, you're going to see schools sharing information and just having lots of activities for our students in our community to be engaged in. So really excited about that work as well. The next item that I have to report to you this evening is Grandparents' Day. We are always looking for opportunities to engage our community and get them into the schools. And so just a few weeks ago, our elementary and intermediate schools celebrated Grandparents' Day. And so it was a great opportunity to, again, bring our parents into our schools. There were lots of activities. There was lunches, there was breakfast, there was photo booths, just a lot of fun and a great opportunity to engage in a positive way. Just to give you a sense of the turnout that took place across the district, there were 126 participants at Hyman, 229 at Acton, 150 at Hastings, 70 at Smith Elementary, 125 at Merrifield, and 130 at Central Elementary. So just wanted to give you a sense of the number of parents and grandparents that were in our schools having positive interactions with their students and with their teachers. And so this goes on quite frequently, but we wanted to make sure that we reported on that and shared with you the good news there. The last item that I have for you this evening is to highlight some of the good things that a few of our students are doing. The Texas Association of Future Educators, we have some students that have received some recognition and awards as a result of being in this program. So 2019 Educators Rising National Conference and Competition that took place this summer. You may remember at Convocation we had Diana Reyes and Kelly Gutierrez. They were presenting the book that they wrote. And so their book won they placed first in the nationals. And so we're really proud of the work that they have done as students and representing themselves, but also representing Duncanville ISD. And then we also had a graduate from 2019, Aaliyah Shiloh. She won 3rd place in this Texas Association of Future Educators, but she's now a freshman at University of Texas, and she is majoring in education. So we're gonna keep our eyes on her, hope we can get her to come back home to teach in Duncanville ISD. But these are 3 students that are part of this program. They went through the competition process and they really fared well, and we're just really good representatives, and it's good to see them choosing education as their career path. So really proud of those students, and that concludes the superintendent's report for this evening.
Thank you, Dr. Smith. And I want to give you a warning. You are surrounded at this moment by 5 grandparents. So, and grandmas at that, so you've been warned.
That's good.
Okay.
I think I know that.
We now move into our recognitions, and we welcome Ms. Tiara Richard.
Good evening, Madam President, Board of Trustees, Dr. Smith. Dr. Smith, there was one point in the superintendent's report, I didn't know if you wanted to bring it back up, but we have guests here from Texas Networks and Improving Schools. So I wanted to see if you wanted them to come up. We had one speaker.
Yes.
Yes, sir. All right, we have Kate here.
Madam President, trustees, Superintendent Smith, thank you guys for having us here tonight. I will make this brief. So we know that Duncanville ISD has a national football presence. We're here to talk about hopefully the national math presence that you guys are building here. I am Kate Haston. I am a deputy director at Educate Texas, which is an initiative of Communities Foundation of Texas. And I am here with a couple of my colleagues, Dr. Kristen Kewen, who is also with Educate Texas, Dr. Nikki Mouton, who is with Learning Forward, and then Aaron Phillip, who is with Educate Texas as well. And we're here tonight on behalf of the Texas Network for School Improvement to celebrate the work of your 7th and 8th grade math teachers and the folks in Duncanville ISD supporting all of their work. This past year, we had the privilege of launching the network, and we worked with a number of your folks here that were just outstanding. Dr. Crystal Rentz, Devin Haynes, Dr. Amy Anderson, and Kathy Sewell, in addition to a number of your teachers and school administrators. And through participation in the network, the teachers receive professional learning on effective math teaching practices and were equipped with resources to implement targeted interventions and improvements using a continuous improvement process. Each middle school team set a goal of increasing the opportunities for students to discuss and practice and collaborate and present and teach mathematics, to actually have their students do some of that work. And the teachers worked to actually develop their own change ideas focused on rich tasks related to concepts like probability and proportionality and the Pythagorean theorem. And while the network is still very young, last semester was the first semester that this network launched. We've just seen some great promise in working with your teachers and faculty here at Duncanville ISD. The change ideas that your teachers developed created a culture of discourse in math, where your students persevered in productive struggle and constructed knowledge together. They had to defend their own reasoning with varied solution strategies. And most of your students, through student surveys, your teachers were asking them how they were perceiving the work. 88% of your students reported that having to actually discuss their thinking and present their learning increased their understanding of math. The network professional learning opportunities also helped your teachers increase their understanding and use of effective math teaching practices. The Charles A. Dana Center is the one that's bringing that math expertise. And 100% of your teachers reported increasing their use of purposeful questioning when their students were actually going through these processes. And over 85% of your teachers reported increasing opportunities for small group collaboration in their classroom through participation. So this past year, we really saw the strength and dedication of your teachers. We heard about it before we started working here, but we saw it in action to just continually improve by testing and refining their own ideas. And we, as the hub and the network facilitators, really benefited from the thought partnership from the leaders in your classrooms and your campuses and your districts. Dr. Smith mentioned, but this work is funded by the Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation. It's a national effort that's taking place. And based on what we know of the strengths in your district, we really see that you guys have an opportunity to shine on a national level. So we are thankful for the opportunity to be here tonight and to work with your teams and look forward to continuing to work with and learn from all of you guys.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Would you have your group stand? Because I know you all made a great effort to be here. We appreciate you.
All right, so for recognitions, Made with Pride in Duncanville is back. And that is where we recognize a student, teacher, and a staff every month for just going above and beyond and really epitomizing what it means to be made with pride in Duncanville. And so up first, we have our student of the month, Mr. Christopher Thompson, Jr. All right, so Chris, he is a senior at Duncanville High School. He is described as a true student athlete. If you've seen our Panthers take the field like we did last Saturday, you spotted number 5 on the field, and you know that Chris is an athlete who excels on the field. He excels when it comes to the game. But he takes that same dedication and commitment to the classroom. He has maintained a 3.9 GPA and is ranked 19th in the senior class of more than 1,000 students. Chris is actually scheduled to graduate early so he can get a head start at Auburn University in the spring of 2020. And in addition to his work in the classroom and on the field, Chris also believes in giving back to his community. He's a mentor to other youth in the community and really takes that time to pour into others as people have poured into him. Chris is a young man who obviously takes great pride in his education and works to instill that same level of pride in others around him. So for this and many reasons, we are honored to celebrate Chris Thompson as our Made with Pride in Duncanville Student of the Month. Thank you, Chris. All right, so up next, we have our Teacher of the Month, Miss Kaylee Meekins from Fair Meadows Elementary School. So Miss Meekins is a third grade teacher who brings a contagious, positive attitude to school and to her classroom each and every day. She uplifts others and is a master at building relationships, not only with the students in her class, but students throughout the entire school. Ms. Meekins herself is an avid learner and has a growth mindset. She has high expectations for herself and others around her. Her bright personality is a perfect fit for the school's Sunshine Committee, where they bring good cheer to the campus. And when you watch the video in a second, you'll see exactly what I mean, if you can't already tell by this bubbly smile and personality. Most notably is her high energy and the excitement she brings to the classroom. You cannot miss Miss Meekins when she walks into a room, and you can't help but smile when you see her. So for this, again, and many other reasons, we are honored to celebrate you as our Made with Pride in Duncanville Teacher of the Month. Congratulations. I knew I should have had tissue for you. I'm sorry. Next time I'll have some. All right. I don't think we're going to make this other person cry, but we could try. So for our Made with Pride in Duncanville Staff Member of the Month, we have Mr. Sergeant Mitchell Lambert. So Sergeant Lambert was already working this meeting, so he didn't have to make any special accommodations to be here. But he does when he can. He always makes special accommodations to make sure that people are taken care of, that our students and our staff and our families are safe. Sergeant Lambert is an officer who understands the balance required to do this job well. He has to enforce the law while also building relationships. He goes above and beyond to be accessible to employees, community members, and students. Sergeant Lambert is personable and easy to approach. He's empathetic. With those he works, Sergeant Lambert is a strong motivator and cultivates a team-oriented environment. Sergeant Lambert is extremely professional and detail-oriented. He truly cares about the school district, our staff, and our students, and it shows. So our Staff Member of the Month, Made with Pride in Duncanville, Sergeant Mitchell Lambert. So while Sergeant Lambert joins our other honorees and our board president for a photo, we will play a short video just to show you a little bit more about these honorees and why they're made with pride in Duncanville.
Duncanville ISD congratulates the following student, staff member, and teacher who are made with pride in Duncanville.
My name is Christopher Thompson Jr. I'm a senior at Duncanville High School. I'm ranked number 19 in my class. I'm All-American on the field with a 3.9 GPA, and I plan on going to Auburn University. What sets me apart from other students is I'm a hard worker. I play football, and I take my education serious as well. I live by God first, family, education, and then football. To excel in academics and sports, you don't have to be the smartest. You have to trust in God, listen to your instructors, and learn from failing.
I love my job. I think it's the most important job that you can have in the world because out of every other profession, somebody had to teach them. It's the fourth week of school and my students have already grown so much. They're thinking deeper, they're asking more questions, they're working together and collaborating. It's going to be one of the success stories written by Duncanville. What you say and what you do with these students will have a lasting impression for the rest of their lives. As long as you're student-centered, you're automatically going to be set apart because you're thinking of what can I do to serve my students and grow them to be as successful in the real world as they can be.
I'm a sergeant of police at the Duncanville ISD Police Department. I think something that I live by really toward the people that I serve is just that I give hope to all and none for myself. You know, I'm willing to stay the extra hours. I'm willing to do whatever it takes in order to help them out. And I think that's what's important, especially for my position and as a police officer in whole. I try to let them know that, you know, hey, we're here. We all have the same job, whether it be a teacher, custodian, principal, police officer. We're all here to do the same thing, and that's to create a good environment, a memorable environment. And if we're not here to impact lives, then what are we doing here?
These honorees truly are made with pride in Duncanville.
I also like to ask if there are any family members, school family, that means principals, teachers, coworkers of any of these honorees. The support doesn't just start there, it starts at the people who are raising and supporting them. So if there are any family of the honorees, please stand also. Thank you very much. So up next, our next recognition, we actually want to learn a little bit more and celebrate our P-TECH program at the high school. Up first, let me have Ms. Casey Yana. She's the P-TECH program manager. She's going to introduce a couple of our students who are going to explain a little bit about the program and their standouts in the field, and you'll hear directly from them. So, Ms. Yana?
Good evening. Like Ms. Richards said, my name is Casey Yana. I'm the P-TECH program manager, and I'm so excited to be here tonight to tell you about this amazing program that's been happening and some updates. So we've all seen the research stating that good paying jobs in today's and tomorrow's economy require education beyond high school, right? So that includes college degrees and certificates, as well as industry certifications. Well, the P-TECH school model, which stands for Pathways in Technology, Early College High School, was designated to address the need to increase post-secondary degree completion and career readiness by smoothing the transitions between high school, college, and the professional workplace. So it's similar to the early college high school model because students can earn dual credit and a post-secondary credential for free while in high school. But the P-TECH model goes a few steps further to connect the classroom to the workplace. So we make that connection by aligning our programs of study with regional workforce needs. We provide work-based learning experiences at every grade level, 9 through 12, and we partner with local businesses that agree to give our students first priority interviewing for any available jobs when they graduate from our program. So students enrolled in a P-TECH program not only have the opportunity to earn a post-secondary credential or industry certification, but they also participate in activities like worksite visits, professional speakers, job shadowing, mentoring, internships, and they're the first in line for job openings when they graduate. So in Duncanville, we're in our second year as a designated P-TECH campus, and our first program of study was architectural design. So this CTE pathway, it's not new to Duncanville High School, however, but it has increased in popularity over the last decade thanks to Mrs. Ossobrook, who's in the audience. She came to us from the industry, and she's been teaching and helping students earn certificates from Mountain View College for many years. She also helped recruit a second architectural design teacher from the industry, Ms. Sowers, 2 years ago. So both teachers are adjunct instructors with Mountain View College. So this dynamic duo allows our P-TECH students to earn up to 3 certificates and the Associate of Applied Science in computer-aided design and drafting from Mountain View College, all at Duncanville High School. So now that we have a full year of following the P-TECH blueprint under our belts, we're adding a second program of study, automotive technology. Through this pathway, our students will earn the Chassis Cervic Technician Certificate from Cedar Valley College. And we have plans to continue adding programs of study that match our regional workforce needs to the P-TECH program. So now please allow me to introduce 2 of our amazing students in the architectural design program. We have Alexis Solis, a sophomore, and Jacksumi Frias, a senior. They're going to speak about some of their experiences in the architectural design program and what they're looking forward to this school year.
Hi, my name is Alexis Solis. I am a sophomore in the Architectural Design P-TECH program. The experiences that we've had is that we are put into real-world scenarios for different assignments. For instance, we are given different corporate positions, such as a CFO, a studio manager, and a file manager. So we have to go along with those roles and during the classes. And I like that our teacher, Ms. Sowers, instructs us like a college instructor. She has us working with people that we're not used to working with, so we get the opportunity to collaborate with different people, and which helps us prepare for future careers and college. Some of the projects that we've done, last year we did a project, we were put into different groups, and we had to create a product and advertise it to the entire class and persuade them to want to buy our product. The things I'm looking forward to this year are going to field trips to see what it is like to actually work in an architectural office. Another thing I'm looking forward to is I'm looking forward to joining Skills USA, which is a student club that allows us to compete with different schools in architectural design, and we hope to advance to the state competition in Corpus Christi. Another thing that I am looking forward to this school year is learning the different programs such as AutoCAD and Inventor. And the last thing that I'm looking forward to is an interior design project. Thank you.
Hello, my name is Jacksumi Frias. I am a senior at Duncanville High School. What's special about architecture is students help each other out. So if anybody needs help, we all collaborate together and help each other out. Another highlight is having an amazing teacher, Miss Alsabrook. She is a wonderful teacher. She is not only funny, but she lets us figure things out on our own. So if in the future it helps us out to be independent and not depend on other people. I've been in architectural dual credit for 3 years. Last year, I got my CAD operator for Mountain View. It's a certificate. And hopefully this year, I will be earning my architecture directing certificate also. I am also in construction, and I will earn a OSHA certificate also this year. Last year, we did a bird sanctuary, which collaborated with architecture, construction, and welding. We did a bird sanctuary for the Dallas Zoo, which is something big, and it was amazing to do. This year, we are doing another project for the Bridges Training Foundation, which we are designing housing community for disabled adults. I am also in Skills USA. I've been Skills USA for 3 years also, and this year I am president for Skills USA.
You did great. You did a wonderful job. Thank you. And that concludes our recognitions this month.
Okay. Thank you, Ms. Richard. Ms. Kathleen Brown.
Good evening, Madam President, Dr. Smith, Board of Trustees. It is my pleasure this evening to introduce you to Dr. Karen Halachka. Dr. Halachka, if you would join me. Dr. Halachka is joining us as our Interim Executive Director of Assessment and Accountability, and so I'd like to share a little bit of information about her at this time. So she is an experienced district administrator with over 25 years of success in public education. She received both her bachelor's and her master's degrees from Texas A&M University in Commerce, and her Doctor of Education in Educational Administration from the University of North Texas. So over her 25 years, she served in many capacities, and we are the beneficiaries of some of that because she spent some time with us here in the district as a consultant. But she's also served as a deputy executive director, a superintendent, area superintendent, a principal, and an elementary school teacher. She's a visionary and strategic leader, and she's dedicated to student achievement, and we are elated to have her as our interim director of assessment and accountability. Dr. Karen Halachka.
One item I'd like to bring is, not an item, she's a lady. Cassandra Phillips initiated, well, sometimes you are. Last year, Cassandra Phillips initiated a program to help our students. And once again, she's doing it for our kiddos. And Cassandra, could you tell us a little bit about your program?
I would love to, Madam President. The item, no, I'm not an item. Okay, so first I want to say we have so many amazing students in Duncanville. Some of them have left, but let's give them another round of applause. They are so amazing. Oh my gosh. So the Board of Trustees invite you to join us for our second annual student coat drive that we're doing. We know we have students in need, and the coat drive is a way of the trustees giving back. So if you are or know a business owner, there will be 17 locations around Duncanville. 17 local businesses have partnered with us to be a drop-off location. So the flyers they'll be out maybe next week, next week the flyers will be out. But the coat drive will actually kick off October 1st. The boxes will be placed at 17 businesses around Duncanville. So if you know a student in need, just know that we're working to try to get them covered with coats before they leave for the Christmas break. So we hope that you all will participate, and we want to make this bigger than it was last year. So thank you all.
Thank you, Cassandra. Your halo is sparkling. Yes. We now move into the communication from citizens to discuss pending agenda items before the board. And this is a little different. It's a different item. This is an item on our agenda. Recently, school boards across Texas were handed rules, laws, policies, procedures that we must abide by. And we now, at the beginning of our meetings, will have communications from citizens that are securely solid about our agenda. We're still going to have the communications from citizens near the end of our meeting. But at this time, if we have any citizens, you filled out the little card. You have 3 minutes. I don't believe we have any. We have 2 later for our normal, regular communications from citizens. But we'll be having these little 3-minute agenda items if you have a concern about the agenda, that meeting agenda. Okay, we now will take action on matters. We did that. Okay. We now go into our consent items.
Madam President, I move that we move items 8B, C, and D to the consent agenda.
Thank you, Janice. Second. Thank you, Cassandra. It has been moved and seconded that we move items from consent agenda action items B, C, and D to our consent agenda. Are there any questions, comments, or discussion? All those in favor, please raise your right hand. Any opposed? Thank you. Motion passes 5-0. Now, do I have a motion to approve the consent agenda as amended?
Madam President, I move to approve the consent agenda as amended.
Thank you, Renee.
Second.
Jackie, thank you. It has been moved and seconded that the consent agenda be approved as amended. Are there any questions, comments, or discussion? Thank you. All those in favor, please raise your right hand. Any opposed? Thank you. Motion passes 5-0. We now move on to the action agenda, and the first item is to the request of the Texas Education Agency, TEA, for a maximum class size exemption waiver, and the presenter will be Mr. Joe Copeland.
Good evening, Madam President, board members, and Dr. Smith. Thank you for the opportunity to present for your review and approval for a submission of an application to the Texas Education Agency's request of a maximum class size exception waiver. Anytime we have kindergarten through 4th grade classes that exceed the student-teacher ratio of 22-1, the Texas Education Agency requires that local school districts submit an application for a maximum class size exception waiver. The Texas Education Agency also requires that a class size exception waiver is requested each time a class exceeds the 22-to-1 teacher ratio during the school year, except during the last 12 weeks of the school year. We are required within 30 days to apply for a maximum class size waiver when classes in grades K through 4 exceed the limit of 22-to-1. In an effort to provide optimal support, class size waivers will not affect our one IR campus, Bill Hurts Elementary. We only have one D-rated campus, Hyman Elementary, that will have requests for class size waivers. These classes will only be over by one student each, with a ratio of 23-to-1 in first grade and 23-to-1 in third grade. There is a greater benefit to leaving these students at their home campus. The largest class size waiver request is for a bilingual kindergarten class at Acton Elementary. This class ratio will be 26-to-1. However, a full-time bilingual aide has been added to that class to provide exclusive support. All other waiver requests are only 1 or 2 students over the 22-to-1 ratio. Our efforts are always focused on not moving students at all. Last year, we requested a total of 45 waivers in 2007. Last year, we requested a total of 45 waivers. And in 2017-18, we requested 53 class size exception waivers. This school year, in collaboration with district and campus administrations, we have been able to reduce the number of waivers to 16. We also ask that the board authorize the superintendent to approve any future maximum class size exception waivers for the 2019-2020 school year. And it will be my pleasure to answer any questions you may have.
Any questions for Mr. Copeland? Do I have a motion in regards to request of the Texas Education Agency for a maximum class size exemption waiver?
Yes, ma'am, and to authorize the superintendent of schools to approve any future maximum class size exception waivers for the 2019-2020 school year.
Thank you, Janice. Is there a second?
I second.
Thank you, Renee. It has been moved and seconded. Are there any questions, comments, or discussion? All those in favor, please raise your right hand. Any opposed? Thank you. Motion passes 5-0. Thank you, Mr. Copeland. We will now move to action item E, and this is the nomination to be considered for the Dallas Central Appraisal District Board of Directors. Dr. Bigby. I get
You just call me whatever you like. I answer to almost anything. Every 2 years, the Dallas Central Appraisal District realigns the governing board, which is 5 members. The policy of the board is one of those members gets to be appointed by the City of Dallas, one's appointed by the Dallas ISD, one's appointed by the County of Dallas, and one is selected from among the school districts and then one from among the cities. And what you have the opportunity to do is to nominate someone to go onto a ballot to be circulated to all the school districts to be possibly elected to that board. There are a few governing rules. They have to reside in the Dallas County Appraisal District for at least 2 years, and it can be one of you folks. However, talk to them before you volunteer. Can't be an employee of an agency represented, so it couldn't be a school district employee. Can't be related to someone that's in the business of appraising, and can't be delinquent on property taxes more than 60 days. So if you choose to nominate someone, there's a resolution in your book, it's on page 68, then we'll put that person in, we'll send it to the appraisal district, and then all the other districts that are represented by the Dallas Central Appraisal District, if they choose to nominate one, all of those will come back on a ballot that we'll bring to you in the October meeting, and then you get one vote to vote for that person. So you don't have to nominate anyone, but you certainly have the right to do that.
Did you say a school board trustee can be?
You can be.
Okay,
Yeah.
all right. Do I have a nomination in regards to be considered for the Dallas Central Appraisal District Board of Directors?
I'd like to make a motion that the board move to nominate Cassandra Phillips by approving the said resolution to be considered for membership in the Board of Directors of Dallas Central Appraisal District.
Is there a second?
I second it.
Thank you, Renee. It has been moved and seconded to nominate Cassandra Phillips to be considered for the Dallas Central Appraisal District Board of Directors. Are there any questions, comments, or discussion? I just have one. You're not involved in appraising, right?
No.
Okay, good, good. All those in favor, please raise your right hand. Any opposed? Thank you.
Thank you. We'll get that to
5-0,
them.
and we'll put Cassandra's name on that ballot. Thank you, Cassandra, for volunteering. Bless you. Yes. We will now move to action item F, which is the affiliation agreement with the University of Tennessee, presented by Kathleen Brown.
Good evening again, Madam President, Dr. Smith, Board of Trustees. I am bringing for your attention an affiliation agreement with the University of Tennessee. So as we know, students are able to take coursework from anywhere at any university, and so this is a great opportunity for us to partner with the College of Health Professions, Department of Audiology and Speech Pathology. This agreement would basically allow students from the University of Tennessee to partner with us and basically do what we would typically see as student teaching here, but as speech-language pathologists. In our special education department, that is a very difficult role to fill because those individuals have an opportunity to work outside of education as well. And so we are looking forward to possibly having this opportunity to have them do that coursework right here with us and to intern under our great speech-language pathologists here in the district. This agreement would be in effect for 4 years, and so we would not have to come back with the agreement for the next 4 years. And we hope that this is a great recruitment effort for us, and so that we're able to fill any vacancies that we have here in the district. Currently, we don't have any, so that's a good thing. Right. I'd be happy to answer any questions you have at this time.
Thank you, Ms. Brown. Do I have a motion in regards to the affiliation agreement with the University of Tennessee?
Madam President, I move to approve the agreement with the University of Tennessee for speech-language pathologist interns.
Thank you, Cassandra. Is there a second?
Second.
Thank you, Janice. It has been moved and seconded. Are there any questions, comments, or discussion? All those in favor, please raise your right hand. Any opposed? Thank you. Motion passes 5-0. We will now move to action item G, the curriculum management audit. The presenter is Kathy Sewell.
Good evening, Madam President, Board of Trustees, and Dr. Smith. Thank you for the opportunity to allow me to visit with you about our recommendation for a curriculum management audit. You may be asking, what is a curriculum management audit? And it is a diagnostic tool and process that we are recommending to use to investigate our curricular programs and services. And so it's going to be a process where we look at the written curriculum, the taught curriculum, and the tested curriculum. We are afforded the opportunity to pursue this audit with our school action grant funds. So we'll be paying for it with grant funds for improving teaching and learning. The other piece of the information that I need to share with you this evening is that it is a deficit or a negative audit. And so in the spirit of transparency, we want to have a very strong evaluative roadmap of what our curricular instruction and our teaching and learning programs need. And so we have a very good opportunity to do that right now because we have the grant funds and the methods to do that. So our rationale, as you can see, we are DVille, dedicated to student achievement. This is a continuous improvement process, and so as we try to improve, we're going to have a good roadmap from expert evaluators. We're going to be intentional. We're looking to close any of our gaps. We want to leverage our opportunities, and we want to use this to evaluate for all of our future actions. So the curriculum management audit focus areas center around 5 areas of interest. Governance and control. And in governance and control, they will look at policies, they will look at recommendations from the lens of curriculum and instruction and our programs for our students. They will also look at direction and expectations, such as our balanced literacy framework and other expectations that we've set for teaching and learning in the district. They will look at connectivity and consistency. And what that means is, do we have equity across our schools and our programs? And are they consistent? They will also measure assessment and feedback. Are our assessments aligned to our standards? Are we giving appropriate data-driven feedback? And is that feedback responsive to our student needs? And finally, productivity and efficiency. This is, again, the lens through the curriculum instruction audit process about resources, financial resources, as well as just resources in our schools to see how that measures up from the curriculum instruction lens. So the process is a 12-week process. So we will have a lead auditor. That lead auditor will meet with Dr. Smith. We'll have a district liaison, which will be Dr. Karen Halachka. And so through that team, we will begin the process of collecting and reviewing key district policies and our documents. The auditors and the team will be here for 4 to 5 days in our schools, observing our classrooms, interviewing staff members from principals to district administrators to students, teachers, and our families. And so what they'll be doing in the classrooms, again, is not a teacher evaluation. It's going to be, what patterns do we see? What do we see that emerges from many classroom visits and from many interviews and focus groups? And then they will go and analyze their findings and write a comprehensive report. These are certified curriculum management auditors. They have to go through a rigorous certification process, and they will give us findings that are research-based, and they will be integral to their certification and their training. So this is going to be a really good evaluation for us. Again, it's going to point out everything we need to do and everything that's negative, but we're prepared to do that for the best interest of our children. And lastly, they'll share the findings and recommendations with the superintendent at the close of this approximate 12-week process. And so I'd be happy to answer any questions.
I just want to say, Dr. Smith, I think this is a wise recommendation that you've made, and then it'll be really good for Duncanville ISD.
Thank you.
Yes, we've had the regular curriculum audit, but not the deficit one, so this will be good for us. Any other? Do I have a motion in regards to the curriculum management audit?
So moved.
Second.
Thank you, Janice. Thank you, Jackie. It has been moved and seconded. Are there questions, comments, or discussion?
I have a comment. I just want to applaud Dr. Smith and the staff for doing this, because it's going to disclose things that we need to work on to improve. And, that's a bold step. And that's, that indicates that we're wanting to improve and get better. And so we just applaud you all for undertaking this journey.
Thank you. Yes, and we're excited about the opportunity. Again, it won't be, a glowing report, but that's where we're going to work, and we're going to buckle down and just really get better at what we do.
Thank you, Jackie. The motion on the floor is to approve the curriculum management audit. All those in favor, please raise your right hand. Any opposed? Thank you. Motion passes 5-0.
Thank you.
Ms. Sewell. We will now move to the information discussion agenda. The first item is the campus climate survey results, and presenter is Ms. Tiara Richard. Busy tonight.
Yes, ma'am, I'm here, I'm back. So good evening again, Board of Trustees, Dr. Smith. So we are here, and I'm actually going to turn it over and have our vendor who performed this survey come and actually give you the background on the survey itself. When it gets to the details of the survey, I think that hearing from their insight will give you just a little bit more information. But from my end, I'm going to be here to support her because she obviously doesn't know the district and how we've been making improvements and progress. She can only speak to the specifics of the survey. So I want to be able to provide both perspectives for you. And so I'm going to invite Jenny Quason to come up. Jenny? Jenny is with K-12 Insight, and actually Jenny spoke with you guys last year about our survey for the campus climate. So I will turn it over to her and let her get us started and give you the overview and the insight into the survey, and I will step in periodically.
Hi, good evening. Thank you for having me here. So this is one of the installments of the school quality survey that we did with y'all this year for parents and staff. This year, the survey ran from May 3rd to June 21st, and the ways that we've done it previously, parents and staff will get an email invitation to take the survey, as well as they can take it using one of the public access links on the district's webpage. This is a school quality survey, so what we're going to be looking at are the district level results, but it's really important to kind of think of it and make sure that those campus principals and campus administrators are really looking at their individual schools' results as well as the different grade level results. So this year for participation, we saw just over 1,000 parents who responded and just under 900 staff. That is a slight increase from what we saw last year. And when we kind of take in the responses from the email invitations as well as those that were on public access, you're looking at about almost 15% participation for parents and about 52% for staff, which I know when you initially hear it might sound kind of low, but you have to think that this is a census survey. So how we structure our survey, we send it out to all stakeholders versus doing a random sampling. And with a random sampling, typically you'd be getting, identifying 10% of a population and then hoping as many of that 10% would do it.
So it's not only the parents in the community, it is stakeholders?
Well, for this survey was parents and staff.
Okay, just
so all parents and then all
Okay.
campus-based staff.
Okay. All right.
And so for that, when we have parent surveys, we typically like to see between 15 to 20%, so you're right in that range. And then for staff, we typically like to see 50%, so you're definitely in that range. So I think that's definitely important to note so you can understand, even if it seems like it's not a big amount, it is a good response rate. When we look at overall school quality, we ask both parents and staff to rate their overall quality of either their child's school or their school. And you can see here you're looking at 70% both for parents and staff who rated their school as excellent or good. It's really important to note that this is a 5 percentage point increase from last year for both parents and for staff. And the majority of that increase came from the excellence. So when we look at the percentage of participants of parents who responded excellent last year, there's a 7 percentage point increase and an 8 percentage point increase for staff. And typically we don't see that. Typically we see it go up in the good. So it's excellent to see it go up in excellent. One of the main categories that we're looking at is the academic support. So this is our cluster bar graph. You'll see the green represents the percentage of parents who responded strongly agree or agree to each of the items, and the blue is the staff. So this way you can kind of start seeing any gaps or alignments in perceptions between your parents and staff. Two of the ones that I wanted to point out here where you see some of the bigger gaps in perceptions are where you're looking at the teachers giving timely feedback and helpful feedback about work. That's definitely one that you're going to want principals and recommend that they look at by grade level to kind of see where there might be or why there might be gaps in perceptions for that. And then you'll see one of the biggest gaps here that you're looking at is that teachers successfully show students how lessons relate to life outside. That's one that we see trending nationally with all of our other school districts. That's been low across the board. So it's certainly not unique to Duncanville. These next two slides show what the breakdown looks like that is in the overall reports and the campus reports in terms of individual percentages for each of the actual answer options. And why this is important is because you'll see like on this last item where it says strong support for second language, that 35% that's gray, that represents the number of participants who responded don't know. So when you see a large percentage of don't know for that, especially for parents, you kind of have to look at the question item to see how it reads, and know that maybe it's more of a communication issue, or maybe there's just a gap between what parents are hearing from their students and what's actually going on. And that will also impact negatively the number of positive responses that you're seeing there.
One thing that I wanted to point out, when it comes to, we had a couple where we pulled out the campus-specific ones so you can get a better feedback and understanding of where things stand. Go back one slide. So when you look at the campus-specific and you start breaking down where we fall and where we find, you'll see that, for example, teachers give timely feedback about student work, and also above that, the students are challenged by schoolwork. You're seeing that these are really high on this particular slide because Hardin is doing some strong work there. So I wanted to emphasize that once you start digging down to the campus specifics, you can see where people are rising above and really getting more detail. And then, as Jenny mentioned, the area, the don't know answer and response, it gives you a little bit of perspective of how that balances with the larger response across the district-wide as a whole. So those campus-specific locations give you just a little bit more input. And when it comes to, for example, Hardin as a campus has shown a lot of, they have a lot of campus activities, a lot of involvement. And so those are things that our parents are seeing a lot of. And so it just gives you a little bit of perspective when you look at the campus-specific locations also. Sorry, I just want to step in. Thank you.
The next section is student support. Here you see the larger gaps between parents and staff feeling that there's someone on campus that their child or a student can go to for personal help or for a school problem, as well as some lower percentages when you're looking here for students to receive support that addresses their individual needs. Typically, we do see some higher percentages for some of these responses, but that one there about addressing individual needs, that's one that we see is traditionally pretty low in trends across the nation. When we look at school leadership, this is definitely one where we often expect to see some gaps in perceptions, mostly because staff are on the campus, they're there, they have much easier access to school administrators, so they typically have higher favorable responses versus what you see for parents. Again, these are a little bit lower. Typically the norm for what we see here is about 85% for favorable responses for staff and about mid-70s. So I know that this is one that we broke down with Duncanville High School, where we saw some of the higher percentages for disagreement or strongly disagree. So I know, there she is.
I was ready. Sorry. And let me go back to just couple more before scooting. And when we talk about this, I wanted to back up to student support really quick, because I know that's one that we'll have questions about, and I wanted to proactively respond. Already you're seeing processes and different programs putting in place that long before this survey came out were already being addressed. You're going to hear later on today about social emotional learning, so that's speaking to that. You've already heard from Mr. Copeland and his team regarding the way that students and families are able to report bullying. So there are elements that are already being put in place in terms of our student support that are proactively addressing these things before the survey results even came out. So I think that one thing that the survey doesn't show, and it can't possibly, is the work that's been going into addressing these areas long before we even knew or saw these numbers. So I wanted to make sure I pointed that out to you when you look at the student support slide in particular. And then for school leadership, getting to high school. One thing when you look at the larger numbers for school leadership, when you think about the number of people who took the survey, about 1,000 parents, about a third of those are high school. So when you look at district-wide and you look at those numbers and you look at seeing some of those lower numbers, they're impacted by that specific audience. And as we know, there have been dramatic leadership changes at the high school over the last year that I think that we'll see some changes there based on that. So you have to give it a chance to sort of see what the difference is going to be with another set of another leadership team in place in that location. So I just wanted to point out the differences. The district-wide survey is a broad number, but then when you break it down to the numbers of being a third of that response actually being one campus, and then looking at that campus specifically, in particular the high school, you start seeing the difference. And again, the high school has a lot of really great things in place, already addressing the responsiveness, making sure that the additional counselors, the social emotional counselors are being available. So there are resources that have been added that are going to play into that response to parents and some of these specific things that have been listed here. So I just wanted to make sure I could address that.
Next is the family involvement, and here's where we start. We've got some real great, strong, favorable responses here in terms of families being informed and feeling encouraged to attend. Two of the ones that you see on the bottom there about the school respecting and valuing input provided by families, and then the item about the school uses family input to improve instruction. Those are one that, again, are pretty low across the board when we get these results from different districts. A lot of it has to do with the questions, and especially that gap between teachers and parents. Where parents feel like they should be able to have more input not only in how their student is learning, but what their student is learning, and they don't necessarily always understand, that as a district you have certain state standards that you have to do and responsibilities that you have to teach, and in certain ways there's some limits to what can be done. So that's why we often see some of those lower disagreement or lower favorable responses there for those items, but those are still within the range of what we typically see with the other districts that we work with. And then the last dimension that we have within our school quality is the safety and behavior. Again, to look at these kind of off the bat, you can see where there's some bigger gaps in perceptions between what staff and parents say. A lot of that does tie back to that it's bullying. When you're looking at things like discipline is enforced fairly, with FERPA, there's a lot of limitations in what you can do if there's been an incident of bullying that's been reported, and parents often want to know how it's been handled and you can't communicate that, so your hands are tied. So that definitely impacts those favorable responses. As well as for some of these, the item for staff members are responsive, that had a 39% response rate of parents who responded don't know. So a lot of times you see lower favorable responses there for these items because you're seeing an increase in don't know responses from parents. And did you have, I know, there's one.
And in particular for safety and behavior, if you think about the strides we've made in the last year, and even some of the comments that Dr. Smith mentioned regarding active shooter trainings and those sort of things, getting the word out and helping our parents and our community understand the training that goes into safety at our schools, that's a piece that we continue to work on, making sure, number one, that the awareness is out there, but also the fact that we have our own ISD police department. There are still people who don't realize that, even though it's been in existence for a year. So growing that and helping people understand what we offer and what we have, and just seeing the great work that those individuals are doing as they continue to make progress in those areas.
And then this last slide is the program offering, where we asked parents and staff what additional programs they would like to see. And just consistent from remembering last year that young men's and women's leadership ranked #1 for both parents and staff as it did last year. And then for parents, looking at that second one was the STEM. And then for staff was looking at expanding the junior ROTC program. And this is just the key insights. It just kind of goes back through and hits some of those high-level ones, where you had 70% of staff and parents who rated their school or their child's school as excellent or good. You're looking at 73% of parents and 79% of staff who strongly agreed that teachers set high learning standards for all students, which is a great solid number. Then you're looking at 53% of parents and 51% of staff who feel discipline is enforced fairly. Again, that can connect back to the limitations with FERPA, as well as looking at uncovering at individual campus levels what might be going on there in terms of why there's that perception, or even kind of tapping into what students are feeling. And then you had 69% of parents compared to 87% of staff who feel that students are treated fairly regardless of their background, and that typically relates to gender, sexual orientation, race, and just kind of general background factors. And then the last is just the summary of the programs that they would like offered in terms of the leadership, the ROTC, and the STEM programs. Are there any questions that I can answer for you?
Any questions for Jenny? Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Richard. The next item on the agenda is the TASB Policy Review Services Update. The presenter is Mr. Joe Copeland.
Sorry about that. Once again, good evening, Madam President, Dr. Smith, Board of Trustees. Thanks again for yet another opportunity to share information regarding the review and internal review of our district local policies, an extensive review of our district local policies. Last fall, the senior leadership team began an internal review of all of our local policies. In February of 2019, we began the pre-work with TASB, the Texas Association of School Boards Policy Services, for a review of all of our local policies. This process was a massive undertaking, consuming 7 months. It involved district staff and our TASB consultant, our Texas Association of School Boards consultant, to prepare a formal policy review session. Just a little background knowledge on the TASB services. Their policy review services are charged with auditing board policies. Their services are utilized by 1,043 school districts in the state. The Texas Association of School Boards policy review consultant suggested that Duncanville ISD undergo a comprehensive audit of all of our local policies. The review of the local policies would also put us in alignment with the compliance with current laws and also with our best practices and the district procedures that we will be looking forward to adjusting in the not too distant future. TASB offered to assist with the review of all those policies, our compliance with our laws for sure, and their task was to assist us in this process and walk us through every step of the way. On August 21st and 22nd, our TASB policy consultant came to Duncanville to review approximately 75 local policies recommended by their consulting services. Our goal during this process is to identify critical needs that require updates, to update and align our local policies, to conduct a comprehensive workshop in October with the board and district leadership, and very importantly, to protect our district by aligning our policies and practices with the other 1,043 school districts that are under the services of the policy, TASB policy consulting services. Our plan of action has consisted of several weeks of review and study. This includes the senior leadership team and Lisa Crass, studying and reviewing those 75 local policy recommendations by our consultant from TASB in preparation for our workshop in October. All of this work is dedicated to analyzing this topic. During the October 7th board workshop, we will bring the final recommendations to the board for your review, and it will be for sure my pleasure to answer any questions or delve into any details that you may need.
Any questions, comments for Mr. Copeland? I guess we'll see you October 7th, if not before.
Again, I think this is a great thing to do because those policies can just get lost over years. You know, I think this is a great thing to do.
Yes, ma'am. This is a massive undertaking. We are truly excited, but we know that the work is the work, and we're really very excited to bring forth a lot of information to you for your review. We look forward to that.
So when TASB sends us the updates, they automatically refresh our legal policies, but not our local. It's up to us to do our local.
Yes, ma'am. With their recommendations, they also provide recommendations which are normal practice throughout the state with those other 1,000 districts that they represent. And their goal is to keep us in line with what the practices are, but also keeping in mind what our legal requirements are as well. And then, of course, the local districts and boards have a chance to cater those to what's best for the community.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
Jackie has a question.
Yes, ma'am.
So TASB recommended that we look at our policies. Is that what, did you say that TASB recommended that we do that?
Yes, ma'am. Way in this time last year, there was a process we went through. We were I didn't start at that particular time, but the process had begun, and there was a recommendation to update our local policies. Local policies are normally updated as needed with the board. Legal policies are updated every year according to what the legislation may guide you with, may suggest, or may recommend, and then that's a legal policy that you can't negotiate. However, the local policy updates for our district and what we have right now, a lot of those policies were outdated. They were not applicable. So we asked the TASB Policy Services to give us input. And they provide input for us and the recommendations that are in line with the other 1,000. And they say, School district, we have some recommendations for you here, and these are some other suggestions for you to review. As you review those items and your personnel and district leadership teams review those items and departments review those items, then we say, yes, these things are in line with what we're doing in the district. Board of Trustees, here's the information for you to review, and now we'll give you some more information and answer questions for you so you can establish the local side of those policies.
So it was based on our initiative?
Yes, ma'am.
Basically.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay.
Well, it's a combination of both. It's based on our initiative, and TASB also provides feedback occasionally. They monitor all policies of those 1,043 school districts. And when something has not been updated, they know it has not been updated. So they will send us a notification saying, hey, district, red flag, or here's a red light, here's a little beacon to say we need to get you to consider redoing and updating your local policies. And then we will say, sure, please help us. And that's where we are now.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Any more questions? Don't go anywhere. You're up to bat next.
Yes, ma'am. I'm
Okay.
going to stand right here.
This time for social and emotional learning update, Mr. Copeland.
Let's see if it's loaded here. It's coming. Oh, okay. So I don't have to say again, good evening, Madam President, Dr. Smith, and Board of Trustees. I don't have to say thanks again for another opportunity. Is it ready? Okay. All right. Once again, here's a few updates for our social emotional learning initiative. The updates I'm going to share with you tonight are components of the first step of this initiative for social emotional learning here in our district. We have several of our campuses who were eager to volunteer and participate with a series of trainings this summer. There are a number of campuses participating in promoting kindness that counts. You'll see the logo there on the bottom. I will share with you our initial 3 goals and updates of each goal during our first step of this major initiative. Our first goal is to implement a social emotional curriculum in grades K through 8. At this time, all K through 8 campuses have devoted time in their schedule to teach the curriculum. All K through 8 campuses have been trained and are using Sanford Harmony for grades K through 6 and Second Step for grades 7 and 8. Sanford Harmony and Second Step are grade-appropriate mini lessons designed to help students with conflict resolution while enhancing a growth mindset. Our campus support staff also devotes time weekly to help support those campuses in that effort. Our second goal is to provide information and ongoing professional development in the areas of mental health first aid and trauma for staff and parents. When Senate Bill 11, the school safety bill, was enacted into law on September 1st, it requires school districts to not only implement safety measures and student support, it also requires school districts to report the number of staff that are trained in mental health first aid. This summer, we partnered with the North Texas Behavior Authority to provide this training free of charge. We had 9 of our campuses that were eager to volunteer, and they had their staffs trained before school started. We had 325 that were trained before school. We also have 6 additional mental health first aid training dates scheduled for the 1920 school year. Senate Bill 11 also requires school districts to adopt and implement trauma-informed practices in each school environment. This summer, we also formed a partnership with Region 10 to provide the Trauma Summit. We know that a trauma-informed school is one where adults are prepared to recognize and respond to students who have been impacted by trauma in their lives. We had 128 staff members participate in this training. This trauma training equipped them with the skill needed to train their campus staffs. The first series of the trauma training on campuses is scheduled to occur each month starting this September to January. The last component of our professional development will consist of hosting additional staff and parent events each month at the high school starting at the end of this month. Sessions will be 1 hour in length, translators will be available for all parent events, and the topics for the parents were chosen this summer based upon our staff feedback during their trauma summit. Our third goal is focused on increasing and diversifying our community partnerships. At this time, we have 2 partners that are providing services for our students, parents, and staff if needed. One of our longtime partners, Hamilton and Guy, with parent permission, are ready, willing, and able and prepared to offer counseling on campuses if and when needed to students and families. Our newest partnership is with the Recovery Resource Council. Currently, they are teaching a positive actions curriculum at the Summit Education Center, which is our alternative school. We have also developed a resource list that all campus counselors can use to connect our staff members who may be in need of support. And now, I would like to thank you again for making it possible for us to have student support counselors this year. We have 2 of our counselors that are supporting elementary campuses and 2 of our counselors that are supporting the high school students. Their primary role is to partner with campus counselors to meet the needs of students and staff. Their secondary role is to assist with our social emotional initiative. And at this time, I would like to introduce you to those 4 wonderful ladies. And I will ask them to stand as I call their name, if you don't mind, please. First, Takoya Mandigo, if you will please stand. And Candace Hubbard, if you will please stand. These 2 young ladies are working with high school students. Essica Pullum, will you please stand? Thank you. And Rosanna Santiago, please stand. Thank you very much. These 2 young ladies are working with our elementary schools exclusively. I just wanted to make sure you put a name to a face and put eyes on them because they are working diligently every single day to help students in ways that we could never imagine. So we are so far ahead of what Senate Bill 11 is asking us. I am truly proud of these young ladies, and I wanted to make sure that you got your eyes on them this evening. Thank you so much, ladies. Okay, thank you, ladies. You can be seated. I thank you once again for an opportunity to provide an update on our initial steps to implement our social emotional learning in the district, and it will be my pleasure to answer any questions you may have.
So we don't have support counselors at the middle school?
No, ma'am. We have an alternative support system for middle school and intermediate campuses. At this time, we have our behavior intervention specialists working with a group of trained support. We call them culture coaches, and they work exclusively with intermediate campuses, and we're trying to make sure we get all of them housed. We don't have one at each camp. Our goal is to have a culture coach who is to support our students who are having some issues throughout the day or at any time on each campus specifically to assist those students, and they are designated by campus administration or even the counselor, and sometimes a teacher may say we have a child that's in need. So we have culture coaches. They're designed to help get those students back to neutral, incorporate them into what the culture should look like, how to support them, etc. But they're not counselors. They're just support personnel, but kind of like a behavior intervention specialist, RTI kind of specialist for those of us who know about response to intervention. And that's at both levels, the intermediate level and the middle school level. And I believe there's one campus that doesn't have one, but we're working to get the right person. We're inquiring about getting the right people who love to do this kind of work and be able to sit down and really take the time to get students back to neutral so we can get them back into the classroom.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
That's a special age group, those hormones and
Yes, ma'am.
6th, 7th, 8th.
Yes,
and
ma'am.
all that.
And we are working as hard as we can. Thank you so much.
Do we still have character counts, programs like that?
I'm not completely certain how much of that is going on. I'd have to
Okay.
ask someone. I can get back to you with that information. I can find out,
Thank you.
but I'm not certain.
I just want to thank you and your people for all the work that you've done. I'm truly excited about this, the stuff that's going on right now. I wish that when I were there as a support counselor that I had as much support and hands-on things to go to. I think Ms. Hudson is shaking. It sounds to me like it's not just, it's a whole culture and a whole group, and that you're really trying to train teachers on being able to identify kids who have been in trauma and to work with all kids. It's
Yeah.
not just those 4 women out there doing all the work.
Right, it is truly a team effort, and we have a lot of work to do. These are our initial stages, so we got a long way to go, but thank you so much for
And
saying
I'm
that.
excited about those initial stages.
Yes, we are too. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Copeland.
You're welcome.
The support team, you look like a team. Did y'all coordinate your black and white outfits tonight? Well, thank you. Thank you for being part of our family, support counselors. The next item on our agenda is the annual child nutrition report. Presenters, Ms. Andrea Fields.
And good evening, Madam President, board members, and Dr. Smith. It is my pleasure this evening to present the Child Nutrition Report. And as we look at alignment with Duncanville ISD's strategic plan, and specifically goal number 3, which is focused on operational excellence, it's our pleasure tonight to present this report. And at this time, I'm going to ask one of my outstanding team members, Ms. Donna Woodard Thomas, the Child Nutrition Director, to come forth to present the report for us this evening.
Good evening, Madam President, Dr. Smith, and Board of Trustees. It is always an honor and a privilege to speak before you to share the things that we have done in the previous years. And so tonight, I just want to share with you some of our accomplishments that occurred last school year. First, I would like to talk about some of the exciting things that occurred as far as our audits last year. We were audited by TDA on 3 different occasions. We had an audit for the National School Lunch Program and Breakfast Program. We also had an audit, a procurement audit, and then during the summer months, we had an audit for the breakfast and lunch programs during summer school. In our administrative review for our lunch and breakfast programs, we had no findings. In our procurement review, we had 1 finding, and then during our summer school review, we had no findings. We were recognized by the Commissioner of Department of Agriculture, Sid Miller, and we are just extremely excited about this accomplishment. And I actually have a few of my administrative staff that are here with me tonight. If you could stand. Next, I would like to talk about, talk about the grant that we received last year. We did apply for a grant, and we were one of the recipients that received equipment grant. And of that grant, we received $29,000, and we received new milk coolers. We replaced some of the old equipment that we had. Hardman received 2 milk coolers, Brandenburg received 2, Bill Hartz received 2, and Maryfield received 1. The next item that I would like to talk about is in our central production kitchen. So many people don't realize that we actually have a central production kitchen. But we do. We are one of 4 school districts in the state of Texas that has this type of equipment or a central production area. Now, this equipment that was purchased last year, it's in the center, and it's our tumbler chiller. The tumbler chiller is used in the cook chill area of our central production kitchen. Its function is to chill down food products quickly that have been prepared in our 220-gallon kettle, steam kettle. So the first piece of equipment that you see, that is our steam kettle, And from there, the food items that are in the kettle are pumped into kettle bags. And then once they're pumped into the kettle bags, then it goes up a conveyor belt, and then it goes down into the tumbler chiller. That cools down the food items, and then once it's cooled down, then it's bagged. Well, it's in the bag, and we either freeze it or we send that out to each campus location. So the products that are prepared in our central production kitchen, they are distributed throughout the entire districts. Now, I just wanted to share with you that in last school year, we produced over 33,000 pounds of cheese sauce last school year from our central production kitchen. And then in addition to that, we produced 25,550 pounds of ground raw ground beef. So we do massive cooking in our central production kitchen, and we are so excited about the new tumbler chiller, but because this piece of equipment can actually hold more product, and that increases our productivity and our production. So that's another item that was added last year. Also, we partner with Holy Spirit Catholic Church on Daniel Dale during the summer of this past school year. We came together and we provided non-perishable food items to about 50 of the students that was at Bill Hart's during summer school. So we're excited about partnering with them, and hopefully this coming school year, we will have opportunity to partner with other businesses. Okay, one of the things that I would like to discuss is the eligibility and participation of our students. October is normally the largest serving month of the school year. So normally we focus on October to get an idea of how many kids that are eligible for free or reduced meals, and then how many students of those eligible kids that are eating. And so if you look at our numbers, I have the last 3 years, and in October of 2016, we had about 8,400 students that were eligible for free meals. And the next year, there was a slight increase. We went to 8,500. Now, last school year, we were at 9,000 students that were eligible for free meals. Now, of those kids that were eligible for the free meals, of those 9,000 last school year, we fed about 8,900 of those students. So we're pretty much feeding the majority of the students that are free. They are coming to the cafeteria and they are eating. In 2017, of the 8,500 that were free, we fed about 7,300 of those students. And then in 2016, of the 8,400 that were free, we fed about 6,900 of those. Now, on the reduced student eligibility, you can see that for the most part, it kind of has remained consistent. There was a slight decrease on last year, but in looking at 2016, we had about 1,100 students that were eligible for reduced meals. Then in 2017, we had 1,235. And then we had 1,216. So even though the number decreased, those kids that were free, they moved over into, the kids that were reduced, they moved over into the eligibility for free students. So we're not losing our students, they're just moving into a different category as far as participation. Now, what we're looking at for this school year. Well, first of all, I would like to thank the board for approving a partnership with Domino's Pizza in Duncanville, Texas. This year, we have already implemented Domino's in our schools district-wide, and this is a name that the students that's a brand that they're aware of. It will generate, and we've already seen it generate revenue for students, from our students and our staff. And we've seen an increased participation since we've only been in school. This is going into our 4th week. So we've already seen a significant increase. The students are excited about it. The staff, they're excited about it. Parents may not be that excited about it because the students are spending more money. And then the other item that we would like to implement this year, and we're looking at the spring, and that's providing the supper program to our students. Rather than providing the after-school snacks, we're looking at providing an actual meal for the students that are staying after school. And finally, I would just like to say that on behalf of the entire Child Nutrition Department, our leadership team, Mrs. Fields, I just want to express our sincere thanks to the Board of Trustees and Dr. Smith for the 3% pay raise and the compensation plan adjustment that you passed for this school year. Having qualified staff is vital to our department's success, and these adjustments have assisted us in fulfilling vacant positions and also to maintain and reward our current staff. Thank you. Are there any questions?
I don't have a question, but I want to thank you for what you do and how long you've been with the district. I enjoyed working with you when I was a staff member here, but if you haven't seen the Central Kitchen, it is very interesting to see. It really, really is, and it's amazing what we do and how many children we feed.
Thank you, Ms. Woodard Thomas. It was an excellent report. May I ask you a question?
Sure.
How does does Domino's work with us with the free and reduced program when it comes to selling pizzas? I mean, if we're making profits, how do we do that with free and reduced students?
Well, believe it or not, our free and reduced students, they do have money. And so what they do, they will go through the serving line. All students, first of all students, regardless of what their eligibility is, they are on the school lunch program. So whether they're full pay, free, or reduced. And for every free student that goes through the line, we receive from USDA $3.50. So with the students that are free, or any student, they get an additional slice of pizza that is $2 per slice. So regardless if they're free or reduced, we are still making pretty much a profit from Domino's. So they have given us a very good price on the pizza per pie. They call it pie. So the price is it was negotiable, and so we have gotten a very good price on that.
And are the nutrition levels still up where they should be?
Yes, even though it is Domino's Pizza, Domino's, they still have to meet the same criteria as far as fat, sodium, the whole grain, wheat. They have to meet all of the guidelines. They had to send us an analysis of their pizza, and that is entered into a calculator, nutrition calculator by a dietitian. And then at that point, it will tell us whether or not it meets the standards or not. So it is called Domino's Smart Slice. So it has the Domino brand, but it is a healthier version of the Domino's pizza.
I won't tell the students.
That's interesting.
Thank you. It's been very informative. Any more questions, comments? Jackie?
Mrs. Woodard, we just want to thank you very much for what your team does. I mean, we have a high percentage of students that are, disadvantaged. And so the meal that you serve could possibly be the only one that they will get. So we just have to commend you all for what you do day in and day out. And we're very appreciative of what your team does. And it makes a significant difference, in the lives of kids, because if they're hungry, it makes it hard, to learn. So thank you very much, and your team.
Thank you.
I have a poem I'm going to send to you. It's about the lunchroom lady. And no, that's the title of it. And it just thanks the employees for being sweet and nice, because sometimes that's the only sweet, nice greeting they have. And it's called the lunchroom lady, and I'm gonna send that to you.
I think I've read that.
Well, it's probably on your wall, because I used to send it every year. Oh, thank you so much.
Thank you.
The next item on the agenda is the Effective Schools Framework Overview. The presenters will be Kathy Sewell, Winifred Goodman, and Dr. Sam Nix. And I think Dr. Sam Nix might be busy tonight.
Thank you, Madam President, Board of Trustees, and Dr. Smith. It gives me great pleasure to present to you the Effective Schools Framework. It's just a brief overview of what Texas has changed in terms of continuous improvement and TEA's newly adopted model. We reviewed the Effective Schools Framework at our last board meeting, and so just as a quick reminder, there are 5 major levers that TEA is using now with the new framework. And if you look at the center of the diagram that they presented, it really all hones in on what they want to have as a common language and a common format for effective instruction in schools. And so, as I mentioned, this is a statewide vision from TEA of best practices, and the framework is designed with the 5 levers, and then under those 5 levers, there are essential actions. And as you can see, under strong school leadership, one of the actions is that instructional leaders have clear roles and responsibilities, that we have focused plan development and regular monitoring. Under lever 2, well-supported teachers, that districts have recruiting, selecting, assigning, inducting, and retaining of a full high-quality staff, and that we build teacher capacity through observation and feedback cycles. Under prioritize lever 3, a positive school culture. We've heard a lot about that this evening, and so this is also aligned with what we're doing with the state of Texas. And so this vision, mission, goals for safe environments, for high expectations for behavior, for being proactive and responsive with student support services, all those things are being developed and are aligned with the Effective Schools Framework. Under lever 4, high quality curriculum, we just went through a discussion about analyzing and working toward improvements in this area for continuous improvement as expected by the Effective Schools Framework in the state of Texas. And lastly, prioritize lever 5, effective instruction. We are looking toward our daily lesson plans with formative assessments. We have aligned those across the district, effective classroom routines, data-driven instruction, and then RTI, again, is that responsiveness to intervention to help students who may have learning gaps. And so at this time, I'm going to turn it over to Ms. Goodman to highlight our schools, and then I'll be back to close up the presentation.
Good evening. So first, I'm going to talk about where we are with our elementary campuses. As you know, we have 3 campuses that are considered to be comprehensive progress campuses because in the 2018 rating, they were in the closing achievement gap domain. They were rated in the lowest 5% of the state. Well, as you can see, those campuses are Acton, Alexander, and Hastings, and all of those made double-digit gains last year. So even with those double-digit gains, they don't immediately fall off of that list. So in order for that to happen, they have to show improvement for 2 consecutive years, an increase in that domain and also a letter grade as well. In addition, we have Bill Hart's, that is our one targeted support campus that also has a first-year overall F rating. And so with Bill Hart's, again, in order for them to get off of the list, they have to show progress, but that progress has to be for 3 years, and that's off of the targeted support list. And in addition, again, increase that rating from that F rating. All of these campus principals have already attended Region 10 training and have started on their TIP plan, their targeted improvement plan, in addition to their campus improvement plan. So they all have a plan working for that, and have already started meeting with their teachers, meeting with parents as well, because that is part of the ESF model. And I will talk also about Pace High School. Pace is in a very different situation. As you can see with Pace, they had an overall D rating, but as you can see with PACE, the federal graduation rate, if that's the first thing you'll look at, you'll see the increase from 2018 to 2019. However, the target is 67% for 2 years, and although they were at 64.5%, still did not make that target. Now, the reason that's significant is because as you think about it, that's what PACE is designed for. We know that we have students that come in and out, and so that graduation rate, of course, would be lower than what we expect from our traditional high school. Additionally, they made gains also in many areas as it relates to academics. But once we went to Region 10 and started talking with our Region 10 rep, also a rep from TEA was there, Dr. Nick specifically asked the question, so how do we ensure that we get PACE off of this list? We know that we're not the only school district with a specialized program, so what are other districts doing? And so they simply said, in some instances, they are rolling those students back into their traditional high school, which we know that we have this specialized program for a reason. In other instances, they're just ensuring that they notify their constituents and that everybody understands, their stakeholders understand what the purpose of the program is. And so right now, that's the only guidance that they've given, because everybody that has one of these type of programs, one of these type of campuses, are in the same situation right now. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Goodman.
And as we close out the presentation, I just wanted to give you all a stair-step visual of the things that are taking place in terms of identification and training. Ms. Goodman has already alluded to what the principals have done and where we are within that time frame. So we have already conducted the training. The principals are going through their self-assessment, and that self-assessment is basically where they look at their needs assessment, any barriers, they look at their data. And she also mentioned the campus improvement planning process that we engage in annually as part of our district needs assessment and our campus needs assessment. We engage in that annually. So we've had our district needs assessment in the spring. The campuses then followed with their needs assessment. And so we will be bringing those plans to you in November. We'll also be bringing the TIP plans to you in November, which is in addition to, but also aligned together with what those needs assessments have revealed already in the campus improvement plans. And so the work has been going on, and the work has been very beneficial, but in this process, we are adding the state required elements to our plans as required by the Effective Schools Framework. So then the targeted improvement plans will begin, and then through November through December, TEA has contracted out with Panorama Education to do outside surveys for our parents and our students and staff. So that will be something that's part of this framework as well for the schools that are identified. Then Region 10 has an Effective Schools Framework facilitator. That person has been trained and will be working with our schools this spring on a diagnostic process. We have not been trained on the diagnostic process, so we just know that that will be happening this spring, and we'll bring you more information as we learn that and conduct that training. Then at the end of the cycle, we'll be in cycle 4, and throughout the summer, each cycle is 90 days, and so we will progress monitor at the end of each cycle and then look at our data at the end of the 4th quarter and be back to report to you all on the progress of these schools. And again, looking forward, we will be bringing you the plans, both the campus improvement plans and then the TIP plans for those schools who have to have them as a supplemental measure, and a plan that will be approved by the board. Then we will also keep our systems aligned for effective instruction in the district. And I'd be happy to answer any further questions.
Any more questions for Ms. Sewell? Thank you.
All right, thank you very much.
Thank you. We now move to communications from citizens. And this communication will be those who want to provide general comments to the board. We have received 2 cards, and before you make your way to the front, please allow me to read the following. State law prohibits board members from responding to speakers in public forum unless the topic regards a matter specifically posted on tonight's agenda. The board will carefully consider any concerns expressed, and an administrator will investigate the matter. At your request, the administrator will contact you regarding your concern. Speakers will limit their comments to 5 minutes. If more than 5 speakers are present, speakers must limit their comments to 3 minutes. If delegations of more than 5 people plan to speak on the same topic, they should appoint 1 representative to speak in their behalf or be limited to 5 speakers. And any discussion concerning specific personnel is prohibited in open session. If you wish to address the board regarding a personnel matter, please contact the superintendent's office to schedule the matter for a future closed hearing session meeting. Having stated that, please come forward, state your name and your address, and you have 5 minutes to address the board. I'm going to go in alphabetical order, not knowing who filled out their card first. It will be William T. Hamilton. Please come forward and state your name and address, and you have 5 minutes.
Sorry, my vision's bad. William Hamilton, 515 East Magnolia, been a resident for 46 years. My family dates back to the 1830s in this area. One of the subjects you brought up tonight was the active shooter drill. I bring your attention to your own safety protocols. If you go to your main webpage, departments, go down to safety and security, safety procedures. And I read specifically here, all students are issued identification badges and must be visible on their persons at all times. And in your regards to safety and the active shooting drills, most of the students that are, a lot of the students that are coming through my wife's line she's a lunch lady, she's been there for 41 years, don't have their IDs. They've left them at home. How do they get into the schools? So that is a question that was open tonight with your active shooting drill. How do you tend to advance protecting the students and the staff if kids are getting into the school without IDs? So I expect an answer on that because it was brought up tonight. Dress codes are not being followed. There's house shoes. Midriffs are showing. My wife is cussed out almost on a daily basis in the lines because the kids have got earplugs in both ears. I know they're allowed to have electronics in the kitchen, in the cafeteria, but only in one ear. But she has to holler at them to get their attention. Then we have a problem with ID theft. Student A comes into High East where she works. She runs their number into the computer. She's already had their lunch because student B has stolen their ID and has used it in High West. Student A doesn't get a lunch because by law, she can't sell him a lunch because according to the computer, he's already had it. Now, that falls on you, sir, because you're the head of the system. Y'all are supposed to keep an eye on what's going on. Rules are not being followed. If you take care of the small things, the big things will take care of themselves. But we have a security problem because your main speech at the first of school, when all the teachers and administrators were there, when they went back to the cafeteria, the doors were wide open and unlocked. Anybody could have been in that building. And it has happened several times. So in view of your active shooting situation that you spoke of, I expect some sort of response. You brought it up. I didn't. While they're discussing, can my clock stop?
We are not going to address that at this time. I'm sure that Dr.
Administration
Smith
has
would
received
be.
your information, and
Yes.
we'll be getting back in touch with you.
Because my wife feels very unsecure because her particular line is set up in such a way that her back is to the school crowd. And so she has no safety, as in most of the lines are contained within cage areas. Her particular line comes out to where she is not protected. So we're concerned about her safety, and like I said, you were the one that brought up the deal about open shooter, or anybody can walk in that school if you don't enforce the deal. We had signs on the wall last year, announcements every morning last year. This year, no signs, no announcements.
Sir, someone will be in touch with you.
I appreciate that because I had more to talk about and there's not enough time. There's been very few times that she's ever seen security in the kitchen or in the area, and when she does see them, they're usually more interested in their iPhones, not watching the kids. And the kids are leaving such a mess, you're not even teaching them how to clean up after themselves, so what else are you not teaching them? They're not even being polite to the adults. They're not being sociable. They're being rude and all that. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Hamilton. Next, Donna Lancaster. Or do you say Lancaster?
I say Lancaster.
Okay.
Good evening, Madam President, Dr. Smith, Board of Trustees. Donna Lancaster, 1711 Meadowwood Drive here in Duncanville. I'm here tonight as a member of the leadership team for Southwest Dallas American Federation of Teachers. And my purpose tonight is to thank the board. We want to thank you for our raise. Wasn't quite the raise the Lieutenant Governor said we were going to get, but there wasn't a single one of us that knew we were going to get it. So we do appreciate what we got. Also want to thank you for the raise for our paraprofessionals. They are some of our unsung heroes. I could not do my job without my para. And so thank you for recognizing the paraprofessionals and all of our support staff. I also want to thank you for matching our increase in our health benefits. That sends a great message to us that you guys truly do support your teachers and your staff, because they keep going up, and I know you guys all know that. They keep going up, our benefits keep going down, but you guys keep us from falling in the hole, and we appreciate that. So we just want to thank you for all of the support that you show the Duncanville teachers and the Duncanville staff. Thank you, Board.
Thank you, Donna, and thank you, too, for all of your support and work with the Sparklers. They are just absolutely precious.
Thank you.
And just keep up the good work. Well, thank you for coming to the meeting. Being that there is no further business to discuss, this meeting is adjourned.